And if you're in person, I might just leave you a list of your missing assignments rather than having to meet with you. I mean, kind of meeting is just like so you guys know what you need to get done. And so if you're in person, hopefully you're kind of being directed what you need to do. So we need to get the notes out from last time. So the 4-7 notes, I'm hoping you guys all still have those. If you don't, I do have a couple of like blank ones if you absolutely can't find it. So the 4-7 notes, if you guys can find those. We're doing the back side of them. To the back side of them. You guys were doing a great job with the graphing yesterday, so I didn't want to push that and try to rush through these, just knowing we had the time. So we're going to this part. Is everyone able to find that? Okay. So we'll do this section of notes, and then we will we'll do our Kahoot, and then we'll do that notes quiz. That's an open notes quiz, just making sure you guys have been taking notes for the chapter. Should be easy enough. And then the homework that we're going to do is basically the part we haven't done from like this little part. So like it's like the first half of it. So we actually have done problems like these before. It's just that new notation that, like I said, is kind of like a new language. Maybe you're not used to yet. And so just getting used to the idea that, remember, this is just, I use these things all the time. It's really just the same as y equals negative 4x plus 5. It's just now they're using that function notation. So don't let that scare you. There's nothing tougher, like more difficult about this other than the fact that you might try to do more than you should. So they're giving us values for the x. We're just going to substitute those in. Now the notation they use with this typically then is they put those values in as their x values. So they're just going to say, and you don't have to write it this way. This is just like the notation they would use, is they put negative 1 in for x, just to tell you that's what you need to do. So that's what I'm going to do over here. And it's kind of weird the way it looks. Remember, that's not f times negative 1, it's just f, we'd say f of negative 1. What happens when x is negative 1? So this would be 4 plus 5, so that would be 9. So they're just asking us to substitute that in again and again. So we did negative 1. So the value when x is negative 1, the function value would be 9. So like I'm going to switch to f of 0. And you don't have to show all these steps. I'm just trying to get you guys to think about what's going on here. So I'm going to put 0 in now. Well, the 0 cancels out that part, so it just ends up being 5. So again, that one's done now. And then 2, I'll just put 2 in. Because I ran out of room. So negative 8 plus 5, so that'll be a negative 3, right? Now the next one involves a fraction, and they use g instead of f. Why I use G instead of F, just because like I don't call you guys all just students. I give you a name. So they're just giving the function a different name in this case. Instead of F, they're calling it G. So that way, if I say we're talking about the function G, we know which one they're talking about. Let's see. So we're going to, again, put all of those values in for X. So you're taking all of these and putting them in for X. So why don't you guys take a minute to try that. So put those values in for X if you haven't already. Now one of them will be a decimal. Don't let that freak you out, it's not a bad decimal. Putting those different values in for the X in this function. And that first one's probably the toughest one. When X is -1, (9 plus 1/2 times -1). 1/2 times -1 is a -1/2. So this would be 9 minus 1/2, or 9 minus 0.5 if you'd rather just use decimals. Whoa, so this would end up being 8.5 or 8.5. So when X is -1, that's what we get here. We're substituting that in. Again, you have to do that for X is 0. And then X is also 2. So when X is 0, what do we get? 9. You just get 9, because this just becomes 0. So the value of the function would just be 9. When X is 2, what'd you guys get? 10, because half of 2 is going to be 1, plus 9 will give me 10. So if you want to see that real quick, so 9 plus 1/2 times 2, half of 2 is 1, 9 plus 1 would give me just 10. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. All right, so the next one is another notation that they use with this function notation. And I think this is kind of why this notation was invented. I don't know if they invent notations, but that's, I guess, what I would say. So they could have taken all the words out of this problem. So it says if this is the function, so again, just another name of a function. So just like, again, there's many students, I have many different names, this is just another name of the function. Of h of x is 3x minus 9, find the value of h of -2. So again, if someone wanted to, they really could take all the words out of this. It could just say h of x is 3x minus 9, h of -2, and you should know what to do with that answer. So what is this telling me about this function? What's that? It should be like so. So I think you did what was right. I think you just started explaining it very well. So what is -2 in this? What are they telling us about -2?
It's what X is.
Yeah. So do you guys see? It says h, and then there's parentheses x. But instead over here they say h -2. What they're telling me is x is -2. So without having used any words, so maybe someone who doesn't speak the language, without using any words, I could say, they're telling me what x is. That would be that's a notation that is kind of universal that people know. Now, until someone tells you, maybe it's not really obvious, but they're showing that by putting that in place of x. So all we're going to do here is put that in place of x. And I had seen that Trista did it. It just was like the words weren't, and that's fine. That's just trying to explain what's happening here. So it's telling us to substitute that in. So I multiply, and then I get a negative 15. That's what h of negative 2 is. So it's kind of a fast way to say what happens when x is negative 2, or just a shorthand notation, or a universal way of saying that. All right, let's then go to the last couple. These are a little bit trickier, and again, the notation is worded strangely. So I actually wrote this first one the way our book writes it. So it says find the value of x, so the function has the given value. So this is the function, and they're telling us this is the answer. So they're not telling us what x is, they're telling us what the function equals. So where do you think I'm going to put negative 11? What do you guys think I'm going to do with negative 11? So I'm telling you it's not the value of x. They're telling us the function has that given value. Anyone have an idea? Yeah, Trista, what do you think? What's that? Yeah, kind of where the f is. Oh, I didn't want that. Okay, so where this is telling us the value of the function. I'm going to put negative 11 there. They're telling us that's what the equation's going to equal. And now again, if you didn't know that's what you were supposed to do, you might be like, yikes, what am I supposed to do with this? But once I write it this way, do you guys know what to do with a problem like this? Mm-hmm. Hopefully. So once you kind of get through like the notation and get used to that, these really aren't bad problems. It's just a new way to look at things. So what we're going to do to solve this, move the 4. Oops, negative 3x. And then I have to get rid of that negative 3. So x ends up being 10. So that's the value of x that makes that function equal negative 11. So our book will kind of write it that way for this notation. Now this one is kind of another way that I've seen it written as well. So now this time it says k of x, so again, new function name, 4x minus 7, but now they're telling us the function equals 33. So they're again giving us this value. So we're going to put 33 in for where the function is. So we're going to move that 7 over. And then we'll divide by 4. So what I'm going to tell you guys is it's getting used to this notation is the toughest part of this. So I highly suggest as you're doing the homework, maybe have your notes out and say, oh, this problem is like this one. This is what I need to do in this problem. So you don't just go through the motions and get yourself more confused. So what we're going to do then for our homework, that's it for notes for today. Basically our homework is going to stop at number 22. So it's like the first half. If you crossed it off a little bit, you might want to rewrite it here. So we're just going to stop at 22 because we started at 23 today. So we're going to do that whole first part. However, I'm going to ask you guys wait to do that. You shouldn't need any graph paper. If there's any graphing, hopefully, or I don't think there is. No. I'm thinking about what the first half is, all this function stuff. So you shouldn't need any graph paper. But we're going to do a Kahoot to practice like the whole chapter now. And then Once we finish that, then we're gonna do our notes quiz. So, you guys probably want some scratch paper and maybe a calculator for your Kahoot. I do ask you guys work on the Kahoot and not homework for right now. I promise you guys will have time for homework. I'm going to turn down the lights just because they're reflecting kind of on the screen here. Do we want music? Ooh, music in your head.
No, I do not want that in my head. It's like a cancer. It feeds off and ruins your chance to use it.
I don't think there's an outlet, any more outlets over there. Kylie, why don't you come over here? Or otherwise, you could also move your desk back. And I have some outlets on my desk. So like you can move the desk here. We're probably gonna have to go over here.
didn't like that.
And so it's about everything from this chapter, so it could include the slope equation or the slope that we had done. Yeah. What's up? Is there more cries for help?
Slide down on it,
This might be a formula you guys might want, or slope formula. I'll leave it up on this board. Everybody should be getting in, please. Try to be patient. I think we're waiting on a few other people too. Did you get it done on your phone instead? Yeah. That's fine with me. You can do that instead. Is everybody else in? Is that everybody? Okay, so again, this is from the whole chapter. So yeah.
Yeah, I did do it wrong. Crap.
Alright,
Wow,
just
it's
so you guys know, I
called
think
base.
the questions in this, so the B is the y-intercept. I think the questions in this Kahoot are about me, sorry. So if you need a lifeline, let me know. So like if you're like, I need help, because I don't.
But always in 12th place, just that one question.
You guys know about the y-intercept. Good work.
Let's go.
I have a struggle with them.
Oh yeah, so here's my, if you need a lifeline, I can come,
Oh, God.
Let's go first.
obviously. Okay.
I have no idea what this is. I know I have a struggle. Okay.
Sorry.
Let's go back to math. How about that?
Yeah, back to math. Unfair, sorry. That's the only question you get wrong. I promise I'll still. We don't actually need to find the slope. It's just positive, negative, 0 on the line.
Yeah, one person.
So nice negative slope downhill.
Clicked it. Come on.
Think about slope, dude. So this is when he swears going off to the side, math swear word. But x-axis is
Oh, God. I'm so dumb.
you're the x-intercept.
I don't know. The right intercept with the wrong number.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
went down 7 places.
So guys, so on this problem, again, we've talked about this a little bit before. You can be a little logical with it. If the choices are 0 and 2, hopefully you guys realize, even if you're having trouble counting, hopefully you realize that this one's closer to the axis than this one. So obviously this one would be further, that'd be 4, and this one would be 2. Kind of being a little bit logical with the choices. And again, I can give the lifeline. I can give you a lifeline. Does anyone need it?
No, it's the opposite of a lifeline. It's like doing some sort of weighted lifeline.
That's a, so okay, so our kids are named after like athletes, and it's Walter Payton and Archie Griffin. So that's why I put those as choices. So they're named after. Mr. Donahue had the choice to name the boys if we had boys, and I would get to name the girls. We had boys. I got no choices in names. So we had a deal before we had children. So guys, you'll want the slope formula over here. just simplify that. 2 over 6.
I don't like the boots.
I was like, you have all the right words. I can't figure out what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't really
You don't like the boots?
Oh my gosh, I have a class that fixed term every day. Sorry. You'd rather just take notes the whole time? Oh, what's the other option?
I'd rather go with you rather.
Wait, I thought
I was second.
Would you rather? Okay. So let's talk about this one. So if I do this, I don't know if that actually went on. Okay. So 7 minus 5 over 3 minus a negative 3. So 7 minus 5 is 2. 3 minus negative 3 is 6. And then I just simplify that to be 1/3. I know, right?
So close to birth, I will destroy you.
This one gives you 2 minutes to figure this out. The x and y intercepts. Remember, that's where one of the variables is 0. You have 2 minutes to do this. What's it?
Oh, it's crashed.
So remember, that's where each of the variables take turns being 0. This is a few sections ago. It will be on our test on Tuesday. It's going to grab a marker like right behind you there. There's like a whole bunch, like up
Oh.
straight.
Yeah, that's true.
You're still a full minute. You're fine on time. So we already did the notes. We're sending the notes. Because if we do that, send them all the time at work. Yeah, that. Oh, so we already did that.
Wow, you're lucky.
And he's on. Shoot. Okay. So guys, remember x and y intercepts is when one of the variables is 0. And I'm going to talk about this because obviously if a chunk of you guys got it wrong, it's something that we need to talk about. We're testing on this on Tuesday. So the x-intercept is when y is 0, and then the y-intercept is when x is 0. So basically for each of these cases, I have to make one of them 0. So if this is 0, I get 4x equals 12. Divide by 4, I get x is 3. So my first one is 3, 0. I actually could be done right now, but just to check. Then I go and change the other one to be 0. So now if this one is 0, I get a negative 6y equals 12. Divide by negative 6, I get y is negative 2. So then there's my 0, negative 2. A lot of you guys did flip them, so at least you have the right idea there down with that. Okay? So that's something that you might want to like go back and look at and know that that's going to be on our test on Tuesday. There won't be a ton of questions like that, but you know, at least a few. This gives you 2 minutes to read through these. How would you move?
there's two more questions.
So weird.
Oh, I forgot to take this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, guys. So remembering that this is our b value. That's where we begin. So b means begin. It obviously means the y-intercept, but that's where we begin on the y-axis. And then the slope, we put the 2 over 1, so up 2 over 1. So just being careful with that, kind of just being able to describe it as well as actually graphing it.
Oh, God.
Here's another one like that. I give you guys another full 2 minutes to read through them. There's a problem.
I don't care, it's not like I'm
Uh-oh.
actually competing for
You
something.
guys fell for my trick. Down 4, right 1. So those of you guys who said this, a bunch of you guys said this, you begin at 0, 2, that's right, that's our b value. But then when I go to move, if I go down 4 and left 1, that's actually an uphill graph. We want to go down 4, right 1, and then we're going downhill. This is a negative slope, so be careful with that. And obviously that was meant to be tricky, so sorry if you fell for it. All right, last one, and I'm hoping you guys know this one, but if you need a lifeline, let me know.
Oh, I'm still, this is a little weird. Oh,
Mr. Donahue.
Mr.
Donahue. No.
I don't
baseball.
A lazy
I
guy.
don't know this. I do not know.
It's a baseball.
I knew it was big.
The guy wears baseball shirts every day, like, and of course, yeah. He's the laziest guy I know. I don't know about you guys, but.
He's the only guy.
What place was that?
Oh.
Good job, Doggy.
It's so cool, yeah. I
Ollie. Ollie is
Both got them all right. So top 5. One of my friends has one of those. Yeah. So like she loves. Alright, runners up. Non-winners.
Non-lollipop? Sure. I'm a non-winner, but I'm a
Chrissy, I'm not going to top
fair.
5.
Fair.
Oh.
I don't get it. Well, Zuckerberg
That's why you look for like someone to be your like.
I think I got it.
The banana man.
Choose.
Alright. So guys,
Wanna go? Try and take me to Brazil.
Do you like coconut? I think it has coconut in it.
Yeah, he's allergic.
What?
No,
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like,